Today we're talking all about those Thanksgiving side dishes. And I have 4 recipes that are gonna be your new favorites. Hey y'all, I'm Jen. Welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my kitchen. So these 4 recipes today are some of our family's all-time favorite recipes. They are tried and true, and these are must-try recipes I'm recommending for y'all. I would not steer you wrong. I promise you're probably gonna love them. And also throughout today's video, I'll be sharing a few tips and tricks for making heavier recipes, so that way on Thanksgiving Day you can join your family and just relax a little bit and enjoy the day. So with all that being said, let's get into these 4 amazing tried and true Thanksgiving recipes. So for your cornbread, you can use the recipe that she gives to make homemade, or you can use any kind of like cornbread mix from the store, a little packet, anything easy. This is what I use. I am gonna use some buttermilk to make it up, but any kind you wanna use will work perfectly in this recipe, just as long as it's not a sweet cornbread, because this is definitely a savory buttermilk cornbread dressing. You don't want any type of sweet like Jiffy or anything like that. I have my large skillet out here. I'm adding 4 tablespoons of butter. We're gonna let this melt, and we're gonna saute our celery and onions in the butter. Our butter is melted, so now I'm adding in about 1 cup of chopped celery and then just 1 small onion. While I am sauteing this, I am halving this recipe just because it's just our family of 4 having this tonight. But of course, if I was cooking this for our big Thanksgiving gathering, I would make the full recipe. But it's easy to have if you just want to have it or try it out, you know, before Thanksgiving, if you maybe want to try the recipe before the big day. And also, she recommends not making this too far in advance. She says if it sits there, it might kind of sour. So what you can do is go ahead and prep everything you're gonna need before you mix the actual dressing together. I like to go ahead and saute my celery and onions earlier in the day and make my cornbread earlier in the day. So when it gets closer time to eat, all I have to do is mix everything up and bake it. It's real easy to do. So I have my pan of cornbread already baked. So since I'm halving this recipe, I'm just gonna crumble half of my cornbread into this large bowl here. And we'll just save the other half in case anybody just wants some plain cornbread. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and chop mine up since it's hot with my spatula. Next to the bowl, we're gonna add some crumbled and dried, just regular old bread. Any kind you have in your cabinet will work. So I just threw some bread in the oven while this was finishing baking. And now I'm just gonna crumble it all up into the bowl. And again, this is something else you could do earlier in the day. You could have all this crumbled up in this big bowl, put it in your fridge, and just have it ready to add the vegetables and the broth and the eggs, everything later on. Next to our bread mixture, we're gonna add some saltine crackers. The recipe calls for 1 sleeve, but I'm just gonna use about half. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and combine this really quick. And now I'm just bringing over those sauteed veggies, the celery and the onions. Put those right on top. All right, next we're gonna add some chicken stock. And we have about 3½ cups here, but I wanted to show y'all my little secret. Actually, it's not my secret, it's Paula's secret, I guess, because that's where I learned it. She uses the Better Than Bouillon. It's a premium chicken base. It comes from a roasted chicken, and this has so much more rich flavor than just like a chicken stock in a carton. And also, this goes a long way. You just mix a teaspoon with 1 cup of water. So if you think about, there's 4 cups in a carton, or there's like a ton of cups in this little jar here, it's a whole lot easier to store, and it just makes your recipes with it that much more rich in flavor. So this is what I'm using. As you can see, I've about used this whole jar up. I need to order some more. So like I said, I have about 3½ cups over here. I'm just gonna add in about half of this, mix it, and then add some more. And also, I'm not sure where I heard this tip. I might have already told you guys this. I can't remember. But when making your southern cornbread dressing, you want the consistency to be that of like a creamy, wet oatmeal. If you can imagine how that is. So obviously this is gonna need a little bit more. See how it's a little bit crumbly. And we're also gonna add some eggs here in a minute, so that will help as well. And this is so good, y'all. I could seriously just have this for Thanksgiving and I would be happy. All right, I think we're just gonna go ahead and use all of this. All right, can y'all see this consistency? It really does have that of a creamy oatmeal. So I think that's a pretty good description. All right, now we're gonna add about 3 eggs. Next, we're just gonna add a sprinkle of black pepper, some salt, adding about a ½ teaspoon of sage. Smells like Thanksgiving. And then about a ½ tablespoon of poultry seasoning. All right, we're just gonna stir everything up. To save on dishes, I'm just gonna use that same pan that we baked the cornbread in. I just took that other half out. We're gonna get it into our baking dish. All right, and this is going into the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes to an hour until the middle and everything is completely set. Have shared this recipe. I think I did, but it was in a vlog, so I had to include it because y'all, this is one of my all-time favorite Thanksgiving recipes. It is so easy, and if you've never tried homemade cranberry sauce, I'm here to show you just how easy it is. And it's only 4 ingredients. We have our cranberries, ½ cup of water, 1½ cups of sugar, because yes, it is sweet, and then just a few spices. I'm adding ½ teaspoon of ground cinnamon, ½ teaspoon of ground allspice, 1/8 teaspoon of ground ginger, and a little less than 1/8 teaspoon of ground clove. That clove comes through very strong. Your house is gonna smell like the holidays, but it's very strong. It's good though, but I want y'all to try it with just a little less than 1/8. I think that's the perfect amount. So now all we're gonna do is bring this up to a simmer, combine everything, and all of these little cranberries are gonna kind of burst open. It'll start to thicken up on its own. The cranberries will release their own liquid and juices, and it is so, so good. This is definitely one you can make ahead of time, especially if you like your cranberry sauce cold. You can even make it the day before, pop it in the fridge. That's what I do, and that's one less thing to do on Thanksgiving Day. And this is gonna come to a simmer and simmer for about 30 minutes until it's thickened. To a skillet, we're going to start by melting 2 tablespoons of butter. Along with that, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of flour. I'm just going to whisk that around. I'm just going to let that flour cook for just a minute. All right, next to the pan, we're going to add 1 cup of sour cream. And then 1 small onion, about 1/4 cup. This one's probably a little bit more than that, but that's okay. We're just gonna stir this around and let this cook for just a couple minutes on low. Next to the pan, I'm adding in 3 cans of French style green beans that I have already drained. Might have should have used a bigger pan, but we're gonna make it work. Go ahead and turn this off. And we're just gonna combine everything, the green beans with this sauce. And obviously this is a substitute for the traditional cream of mushroom soup that is in green bean casserole. And nothing wrong with the mushroom soup, but I do think this has a little bit more flavor. It's just really, really good. So maybe if you've never tried it, or maybe if you don't like green bean casserole with the cream of mushroom soup, maybe you can try it this way. All right, so I have my baking dish. I'm gonna bring over our green beans and get those into our dish. And this is another one that is really, really great for making ahead. I would suggest making it either the night before or that morning. Now we're gonna top it with about 2 cups of cheddar cheese. And you can do this ahead of time up until this part. We are gonna add some crispy fried onions on top, but if you're making it ahead, I would not add those just because they'll get soggy and you want those to stay crispy. So do everything else, and then right before you bake it, just add your onions. So when you're ready to bake, all you'll do is add your crispy onions. I say just measure this part with your heart, and then this is gonna bake in the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes. Also, if your onions start to brown too much, just cover them with a piece of foil.
It's an early December morning, no one but we are. We look out the window as it's starting to snow, and I realize.
All right, so I have my mixer out. You can, of course, use a hand mixer as well. So, of course, you're gonna start with 1 can of pumpkin, and it is just the pure pumpkin, not the pumpkin pie filling. 3/4 cup of sugar, 2 eggs. You're gonna need about a cup of evaporated milk. So if you buy these little 12-ounce cans, not quite a whole can. We're gonna do 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, and do just a pinch of salt. And then the special ingredient in this recipe is pure maple syrup. You wanna make sure it's the pure maple syrup, not like pancake syrup or table syrup. Go with the pure maple syrup kind. It makes it so good. This is hands down my most favorite pumpkin pie recipe ever. And it's so easy, but that maple syrup, I'm telling y'all, just kicks it up another notch. So while our pie filling is mixing up, I wanted to give you another make ahead tip. Pumpkin pies are so easy to make ahead of time. You can make them the day before, pop it in the fridge, and you're good to go. Also, this recipe will make 2 pies if you don't mind a slightly thinner pie. It's still about 1 inch thick, but I think that is actually the perfect thickness for pie. I like my crust ratio to be pretty high, plus we gotta add whipped cream and all that, so this is the perfect recipe. You can split it in half, wrap one with some plastic wrap, pop it in the freezer, let it thaw in the fridge overnight before Thanksgiving, and you already have a pumpkin pie made. All right, we're just gonna pour in our batter. I'm using a pre-made pie crust, and this recipe makes enough for 2 pies. So this is another really, really great make ahead recipe. I'm actually going to freeze one of these after they bake, so that way all I have to do is thaw it out in the refrigerator overnight, and we'll already have a pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving. So these are gonna go into the oven at 425 for about 15 minutes, and then we're gonna reduce the heat and bake them a little longer at 350. I'll have the whole recipe as well as all these others linked or typed out below in the description box for you. All right, my pies are done. Like I said, we baked those 15 minutes, turned the temperature down, and they baked for another 45, and they look perfect. I do want to say you can watch if your crusts start to brown. You can just lightly lay some tinfoil over it. It doesn't have to be tight. You can literally just tear off a piece of tinfoil and lay it straight in the oven, just very, very lightly so it doesn't pull up your pie. You can even spray it with a little cooking spray, but that will keep your crust from browning too much. So now we're just going to let these cool completely, and once they've reached room temperature, I will wrap one of these up with a few layers of plastic wrap, and then I will just pop it in the freezer, and like I said, it'll be ready to thaw and have for Thanksgiving. So they look so good, And I'm not sure if I'll cut into this one on this video because like I said, we're going to wait and let them cool. But y'all trust me, these are the best pumpkin pies ever. Alright y'all, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you will try some of these recipes. They are so good. You're going to love them. Let me know if you do try them. And let me know if you've started planning your Thanksgiving menu this year. And are you going to try anything different? I hope you guys are all doing amazing. And I'll see you real soon in my next video. Bye y'all. If I can fit up here. Okay, I feel like Elf on the Shelf. The things you do for a thumbnail. So Elf on the Shelf, I'm let's see. Oh my gosh. Use too many muscles I don't use.
Sleigh bells ringing, diamonds blinging, carols singing, favorite season. Sleigh bells ringing, diamonds blinging, carols singing, favorite season. They said Saint Nick, but you gotta be in that